is I Am More Than Enough, period. And this is the lunchtime connections with Stronger Than the Storm. I am the host, Alicia. Today I have a special guest, and her name is Regina.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Regina. So I started this little segment, and I wanted to have women come on and tell their story. And thank you for reaching out to me because this means the world and this is my passion. So please tell me your story.
My story began back well, first of all, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you and present. So,
Yes.
my story started back in 2018. Actually, probably about a year or two before that, when I started having pains in my different joints, my knees, my hands. And I went to one, like an orthopedic doctor. He diagnosed I had osteoarthritis in my knees, was, starting to wear and tear down. And I got injections and was on medications for that.
Let me stop you. Have you always had knee pain?
Pretty much, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, he gave me, medication, of course, which temporarily stopped it. And then eventually I started having pains in my hands. And I come from a healthcare background and was wondering, okay, what's going on here that's affecting my hands to where I couldn't get any relief? So I was just having pain
Mhm.
after pain after pain. My primary care nurse practitioner referred me to a rheumatologist and arthritis doctor. So I went there, and this was in late 2017, and in early 2018, the arthritis doctor, through blood work and different tests, diagnosed me with an autoimmune condition of rheumatoid arthritis. Because prior to
Mhm.
that, I had pain to where I couldn't walk, pain to where I couldn't even, I had even trouble starting the car with the ignition. At the time, I had a vehicle that had a key that you stick in with the ignition. My hands were so swollen, had problems turning that. And
Oh, wow.
eventually it got to a point where I was just miserable. I would set my alarm. You have a set time. You set your alarm where you get up in the morning. So you regularly get up pretty much every morning. I had to add 45 minutes onto that time in order to get up because I was just in so much pain and just uncomfortable in
Mhm.
order to get to work on time. So after the diagnosis, he put me on a pill form of medication, and I took that, and it did help for a little bit. But then he didn't see the progress he was wanting to do, so he wanted to put me on, in addition to what I was taking, he wanted to put me on an injectable like Humira, Cosentyx, Enbrel was what he wanted to put me on. But I started to
Mhm.
doing my own research and looking at the side effects. And with Enbrel, Humira, it does, help to suppress the immune system, but it also has other effects where it can cause a certain type of cancer. And so I was like, no, I'm not
Mm.
going to do that. So that was how I started my own health journey and looking into natural options to where to see what options would work. And I finally came across a program. I'm in Texas. So I finally came across a program of a provider, a medical doctor in Texas, who offered a 9-month program to try natural options through dietary changes, lifestyle changes, health coaching, and of course, different blood work testing to see how it would do. So after I say about maybe 5 to 6 months into that 9 month program, I was able to take myself, I weaned myself off of the medications, but I still communicated, open communication with my arthritis doctor. I didn't hold anything back.
Mhm.
Um,
Let me ask you something. You still were able to work
I was able to
at
work.
the time?
I was diagnosed in January of 2018, put on the pill form medication.
Hmm.
Thank you for that reminder. And um, unfortunately, by October, November of 2018, I had to retire because it affected me so bad
Mm.
where I had to retire. So I ended up retiring and looking into again starting that journey and started looking into when I started to feel better, was able to get off the medication and started to feel better through natural means. I was like, okay, there is something to this because I had some friends who had some other autoimmune conditions, not necessarily what I had, but different types. And they went on their own natural health journeys and discovered things that worked for them. And one of the ladies who I knew, she started enrolling in a course that would have her be like a natural practitioner, and that got my interest up. So I looked into my own health course and enrolled and became a health coach, graduated and everything, and became a health coach. But during the time when I was going through the program, I started to get better. My lab markers were getting better because initially, when the in the diagnosis, they do your blood work and everything, and my inflammation markers were so high that the arthritis doctor said, he said, before I first saw you, I anticipated when you came in, you would be in a wheelchair and have deformed hands. I walked in on a
Oh, wow.
cane. I walked in on a cane and you see my hands.
Right.
I haven't had any type of deformity whatsoever. Thank God for that. But going back to the natural program, that doctor told me my main reasoning, at least for me, for having the autoimmune condition was an unbalanced gut. That was particular for me.
Whoa.
So that is when I started.
Well, can I is this in your family? Does anyone in your family have this?
In my immediate family, not the rheumatoid arthritis. They have the
Okay.
osteo, the wearing down arthritis, degenerative arthritis, but not what I have. No, no, not what I have.
Mm. Okay.
And so that's what I was thinking. If if there's something to this, to where you can change your diet, especially focusing on the gut, that became the focus, especially with dietary changes. I gave up gluten, so no wheat products. I gave up dairy.
Mhm.
That was the hardest with cheese. Oh my
I can
gosh.
imagine.
That was hard. But eventually I ended up switching over to dairy-free options. So that's what I do now, is dairy-free options and gluten-free, and some grains, but pretty much the biggest culprits was dairy-free, gluten-free. And once I did that, started feeling a whole lot better. Lifestyle changes, decreasing the stress as much as I can. Um, you know,
Mhm.
trying different relaxation techniques, just different things like that. When I went, and so this was back in 2018. It's now 2026. I'm still not on any. I'm not on any medications. I still maintain it naturally, and I still go to
Mhm.
still go to my doctor. This is my third arthritis doctor. The other two, I've seen them, but they have retired. They were older gentlemen, and
Mhm.
anytime, us again, still open with them, and told them, said, this is what I'm doing, and this is what has worked for me. And they're like, well, what about the medication? I said, you know what? I'm not anti-medication. When I feel like I want to, revisit it, oh, we can talk. We'll come back to it. And they say, okay, well, since your blood work is doing good, Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And that's what my
Right.
rheumatologist is saying. That's what she's saying right now. She keeps saying, "Hey, any change?" I said, "No." We do the blood work. She said, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll see you in another 4 months."
You're doing something right.
Exactly. So, and that's basically my goal is to share with people if they're ready that there are options. And like I said, if people are on medications, you okay, there is you can start out because that's how I was to start at least to get some type of relief. But over time, you
Mhm.
might want to look into other options that are available that can help maybe decrease the dosage of the medicine that you're on or even help you get off of it. So, and that's what happened to me is just, I took that options, but I slowly did it while I was on the medications. But eventually, I got off of it. And now there may come times when I may fall and injure myself. Have to get on medications then, but eventually I get off of it. But
Mhm.
that's based on my story, just to share with people there are options out there, natural options that we can look into. We can have a conversation. We can look into it to see if it's something you might be interested in. Because not everything fits everybody. You have to find what works for you.
But a lot of times it is our diet, our lifestyle. And all we need to do is just do that small little change, right?
Yep, it
Like you
is.
said, it was hard for you to give up cheese, but you did it.
Yeah, and I do want to add there were supplementation. I was on supplements, but it was only temporary, just to help in the initial
Mhm.
stages. But once everything gets in balance cuz your body has to get in balance. Once my gut gets in balance, back in balance, was able to taper off, rely on mostly the food and the nutrients that are in food. That's what you want to do. But yeah, that's what worked for me. And I know I kind of went around the world in a kind of a
You
little
did.
condensed.
You're fine. You're fine. Mhm.
So
So, but like they said, your gut is your second brain.
it is. You got to use second brain, and of course, it's all over the media. Your immune is you get your immune system supported by the gut. You also have
Mhm.
serotonin, which is involved in mood. That is also involved with the gut. And your gut is connected to so many different things. Like it says, it is your second brain. And you want your body to work like a well-oiled machine. And if, several parts are off, then you're gonna possibly have other parts. And the gut is a major factor and a major contributor in how that body works because it's involved in how you absorb your food. If your gut is not absorbing like it should, you're not getting the nutrients as you should. And so need to, definitely be concerned about that. And also around other factors. If you're around chemicals that you use in your home, that can affect you.
I
Definitely
believe
like
that.
like you were saying, the food we eat, the more processed, of course, that's not going to help. The
Right.
being around, toxic people, if they're not bringing you peace, might want to consider other options. Um, and also, being around the environment, because, in different environments, being around different things that use different chemicals, what you breathe in, that affects us also. And of course,
Mhm.
the way we think, that can affect us too. So it's all about the whole
Yeah.
body that you have to take into consideration. But I just what my focus on with my business, which I after I got the certification and I opened it in late 2022, 2023, was to help mostly women and men as over 40 as you get older, because really wasn't didn't have started having um concerns or discomfort, that start to manifest themselves until really after age 50. So, but I know that our
Mm.
bodies even can change after age 40. So my concentration is adults 40 and over, especially if you're not feeling the best, you have energy, not sleeping good, gut issues, to have a conversation to see what is going on, and if we can work together and to help guide and support you into finding those natural options that can work. And also,
Mhm.
when you go the natural route, y- you have to realize it does take a little bit longer than if you were taking like a prescription medication. But it takes, it's good for your body to get used to it, so that way you can start to build up healthy habits that can sustain you for a longer period of time.
When you started doing the holistic way and started eating right, what else did you notice about your body, the changes?
Um, let's see. Definitely, I started feeling better as far as less pain, less
Hmm.
inflammation. I was definitely able to move around a lot better, more mobility. My sleep was getting better. It is still not at 100%, but it was getting better. Um, wasn't as Didn't have as much digestive issues, as much like bloating, gas, um, heartburn, or anything like that. That started to improve. And I know this is not the most attractive subject, but when you eliminate, go to the restroom and have
Hmm.
eliminations, that was more frequent. I go when you have bowel movements, you should be going daily, and
Right.
it should be, if you go once a day, that's fine, but if you go twice, that is good. Not having diarrhea, but just to eliminate all that waste that was built up. And another thing I noticed is, when you I was thinking about the phrase, that person acts like their crap doesn't smell. I was thinking about
Hmm.
that. There is some truth to that. If you're eating better, you notice that the waste goes through is it. Yes, it does have a smell, but it's not one of those really really bad ones, because if
Hmm.
you're not eating good and it's bad waste going out, that can really have really bad smells. But um that I thought about that, and I was like, there was some truth to that. But that was
How's your
especially
mind?
the clear the thinking was a lot clearer, not a lot of brain fog, and
Mhm.
it was overall feeling a lot better. Overall feeling a lot better.
No, the reason I asked you that because I was a vegan for 5 years, and all those symptoms you said, my mind was clear. I had so much energy. I slept better, and like you said, the bloated, the waist, everything was. I didn't have no bloating, and like you said, the waist was frequent, and yeah, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you definitely, once you get to that phase and you realize, you're like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I noticed that I'm not
Hmm.
going through this anymore. I was like, I'm feeling pretty good right now. So, but
Hmm.
it takes the will to change, to make those changes. So, because I know my dad told me, and I know I've heard people say this: if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna keep getting what you're getting. And then, if you have not so good habits, you're gonna keep getting not so good results. But if you change and improve the habits, you're going to get change and improved results.
So what do you do now? I know, do you teach a class or
What I
what do
do
you
is
do?
I have webinars that I invite people to attend to gather information. I offer programs that that has that is kind of like a course that you can go through and help give you information to help guide you and improve gut health. I offer a basic analysis, a hair analysis test, kind of like a foundation analysis test that you take a sample of your hair and send it to the lab, and you can get a report back that gives you a foundation about what is possibly going on inside your body that can lead you in a direction of, a start of a health journey. But at least gives is not diagnostic. It's just basically just an informational test that can give you the results that you would need to at least, hey, I didn't know this was going on. It tests sensitivities um, and non-sensitivities. It gives you an 80-page report. So it tests different systems. But again, but basically just kind of gives you information. And from that, we can go on to build a program to where um, we can give you some resources and support so that way you can follow through on what I'm thinking of a program that you like to do.
And can we get that test at a doctor's office?
Some some doctors' offices might have it. I don't know. Um, but you would have to check with your own personal private care practitioner.
So if we want to test our blood, is there a special test that we will ask the doctor or would show up in our blood work?
You might ask the doctor. What you might start out with is ask if the doctor can prescribe a food sensitivity test. That's kind of like a baseline
Okay.
test. That if not, I know they offer them online. But again, with this hair analysis test, it is part of what they test for. But again, that is just something that you can always have that conversation with your primary care doctor.
Okay, so what would you tell people if they have the same symptoms you had?
I
Go
would
see their doctor.
well, if they're having symptoms, I would recommend to them, if you have questions, go talk to your doctor, your nurse practitioner, and if they feel that you need to be tested, get your blood work tested. If they need to test for food sensitivities or if they need to test for inflammation markers, then they can do that also. And from that, if it's determined that you do have possibly an autoimmune condition, then ask for a referral to the appropriate specialist if need be. If they can help manage you, then talk to them about, maybe like, what would you suggest? If they may tell you, okay, well, you need to change your diet, because sometimes they get so busy, they may tell you, okay, change your diet and see how this works.
Mhm.
That may or may not work. You may not feel that that is all, you might need extra support. So if that's the case, you might want to look for maybe a health coach as myself and talk to them and see if what they offer is something you can work with them. But I would also consult a physician. Like, you know what, I found an additional practitioner who's willing to work with me on this, and he or she is offering, these are the programs, this is what they're recommending. I'm just letting you know if this is something that I can do that is not going to affect me, especially with the medication, because I know some supplements, and even with some foods that we eat, sometimes that can interfere with some medication that you're taking. I would also, clear it with the doctor to make sure that's okay.
Okay, so as a health coach, can do you do virtual? How do people get in contact with you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
As you as a health coach, how can people make an appointment with you, or do you do virtual
Okay,
appointments?
okay. The virtual was what cut out. So
Okay,
I work with clients on a virtual basis, and you can
mhm,
reach me at my website at www dot the I'm sorry www.thewellstop.com. And
okay,
there is a make an appointment. You can, it says, I think, book a call. You can schedule. It's a
okay.
free call. It's basically just have a conversation to see what's going on and to see if we're the right fit. And also, if you have any further questions, my email address is info@thewellstop.com.
Okay, and I'm going to put your information in the description.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Regina, thank you for coming on. You were very informative, so I appreciate you. And I'm glad you're doing better and you're feeling better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me, and love your podcast. I think it's awesome platform. And if for those who are listening, if you want to have a conversation to see what's going on and possibly the next steps of your health journey, reach out and we can just talk.
And it's free, right? It's
It
free
is it is free.
consultation.
It's a free
Okay.
call.
Well, Regina, thank you again. This, like I said, I love doing this. This is my passion, women supporting other women, and I'm just grateful that you came on my show.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. And
Thank you.
mhm.
No, if you know anyone who is 50 plus and they have transformed their life from divorce to maybe something happened, sickness, and they want a fresh start, please contact me. My info is going to be in the description. We will love to have you. Thank you again, Regina. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.